the ridiculous thing before you start the game with Chris running down the hall. He's like, ah!
Oh, that stupid thing?
Yeah.
That was fucking cheesy as hell.
It's so cool.
That was not a good beginning. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. Okay, that looks kind of goofy. But then when the actual cinema started, July 1998, because that was in the future. Game came out in 96.
Yeah.
So it was like, they were attacked by a group of about 10 people.
Victims were apparently
Raccoon City incidents. And the mountains, you gotta go in these forests and the mountains and everything. Like, I love that opening cinema. The one that was the censored version was the black and white, which took away a lot of the blood and some of the gore.
It's fun.
And it looks more classy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super cheesy still. It's always gonna be
campy
cheesy.
as hell.
It's campy as hell. Let's talk about the story of the game. Start us off, Ren.
It's about the STARS team. They're special forces, and they're sent out to the Raccoon Forest because their other team, the Bravo team, they were investigating it because people were disappearing out there. There were grisly murders and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Bravo team was investigating. Bravo team, they've lost contact with Bravo team.
Yeah, they disappeared.
So now Alpha team has to go in there and see what the hell's going on. And then fucking Brad Vickers just leaves them there. I remember the opening, the setup of this game is very much like the movie Aliens by James Cameron from the 80s. Like in that movie where like a team of heavily armed Marines are dropped in on this planet where they need to investigate why the entire colony of people has disappeared. And in this game, you have a special unit of the police that is dropped in by helicopter to investigate what the hell happened to their prior team, what's been going on, all these murders in this forest. And then they stumble onto this ridiculous mansion, you know, and then they have to investigate the mystery of the mansion.
Right.
They didn't even know it was there. And it was run by some lunatic who was like this super rich guy who was doing all sorts of experiments, and he was working with the corporation, Umbrella Corporation. Wait, I work for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I don't want to diss my people too much because they've been very good to me. They're gonna build me my own mansion, actually.
Yeah.
A billionaire built this mansion and made it like really weird, and he put all these weird secrets in the mansion.
All these traps
and puzzles and elaborate schemes. That if anybody was trying to go in there, they can't find his laboratory, which is built underneath the mansion. You have to follow all these clues and solve all these puzzles and get through all these enemies. You unlock the underground laboratory, and that's where you see some of what's been going on with Umbrella, and then you have to fight their super secret weapon. The secret weapon that stabs me.
Yeah, because this whole time they're working on this biological weapon. Not just Tyrant, but the virus, the T-virus. That's what infected all the
Tyrant virus.
all the people in the mansion. That's why there's zombies, the dogs, all that stuff was these experimentations with this virus, and it turns them into weapons.
The writing's shit, but the characters are very memorable.
Yeah, they're very lovable and huggable.
Who was your favorite character in the game?
Well, it's easy to say Wesker because he's.
Oh, you too.
You know, he's just a really cool-looking guy with sunglasses. He's super mysterious. But in terms of just the regular people, I like Barry and Jill. Chris is okay. He's kind of like a straight-laced kind of guy. You know, he's cool, but I don't know. I'd say Jill, and I like Jill and Barry's dynamic a little bit more than Chris and Rebecca.
Absolutely. My favorite character is obviously Albert Wesker, my namesake. Myself, but as far as the rest of the characters, I think Jill Valentine's a very cool character. You know, she's got a nice, cool attitude and everything. Chris is alright, he's just kind of like whatever. But Rebecca just did not belong. I mean, she's alright as a character, but she's an 18-year-old girl straight out of high school. She's in some sort of special ops unit of the police force.
Right.
She's a medic. She's a little kid. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Just go right into like the voice acting. It's just ridiculous. It's so bad it's good. Whatever you want to say. It's cringeworthy, but it's really iconic to this game.
Are you okay?
Yeah. So much for him. We got to the root of the problem.
It's so cheesy. You love it. You know, like there's just terrible writing, terrible dialogue.
Is that Jill?
Is that voice Enrico's?
Yeah.
You're alive.
But it works.
It draws you in because it's like a really good contrast between like this very baroque, ornamental structure of the game, like the design of the game is so
atmosphere.
artsy. You know, it's very artsy. But then you have this dialogue with the characters where they're just like these B movie. It's worse than the B movie.
Yeah, it's like Z quality.
It's like terrible, but it's so terrible that it's good.
It's good.
It's like memorable. Like the Jill sandwich line is epic.
Yeah, maybe the Jill sandwich.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
This is not a fast-paced action game. This is a slow game.
Very slow game.
But the more appropriate word may be methodical.
So the controls in this game, they don't hold up well at all anymore. Even back then, they were not that good. There's tank controls where it's just like, you know, regardless of where the camera is aimed at you, you have to hold up to go forward, and it's just like you do this weird kind of like steering maneuvers, and it's kind of bad dodging enemies and all that stuff. The controls don't really hold up too well. They're pretty crappy.
I think they're not as intuitive as some of the other games at the time. And it took me a while to get used to it back in the day, to the controls. But I'm saying once you get into it, man, you can just fly. For a person who's played it, obviously, it's gonna ring
right
true.
back into it.
If a person who's never played it before, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit.
It's gonna take some
a little
time.
bit weird.
You're gonna get your ass kicked. You're gonna fucking die a lot.
You're gonna die a lot. But seriously, how many of you watching were really pissed off by the fact that Chris could only carry 6 items? I mean, that just like screwed with me. I had to play as Jill because I was like, man, Chris is just, there's too much backtracking.
Yeah.
Item management involved in this game, so I enjoyed playing with Jill much more because she could carry 2 extra items, and that made a world of difference. The big advantage that Chris has is that he's much stronger than Jill.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Chris can definitely survive a zombie attack, maybe 2, but Jill, man, sometimes she gets fucking just killed.
You don't want to waste all your ammo. You don't want to just start, like you said, shooting everything. Wasting. You sometimes have to run around guys, and that could require having to be killed many times because you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes you got to replay this game.
So let's talk about the enemies in the game. You know, the dogs are memorable. The crows, they're pecking us. You got crows, you got dogs, you got zombies, you got hunters, you've got the
giant spiders.
Oh man, wasps.
Yeah,
you've got
snakes.
Little vipers, you know, snakes.
But for me, the zombies, even compared to like all the other zombies throughout the series, these ones are like the scariest for me even now. Just because like the sounds they make, they're just like weird moans, some like kind of like creepy grandmas sometimes. The worst part is like, you know, when they grab you, they really like kind of pull your arm around and just start like chomping and chomping and chomping, and they go like oh man, like it's fucked up. Even more than like the remake, all that stuff. These zombies are more terrifying. Hunters really takes takes away.
They're the greatest enemy. I mean, goodness, I don't think they've been topped as far as just like a basic enemy in any of the subsequent games.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're just the most fantastic enemy. The way the hunters are introduced, the first hunter, that cinematic sequence.
That's the best sequence, I think.
That's the best cinematic sequence.
Yeah, besides the intro, but in game, like FMV.
It's so cinematic because it's just like it's straight up from a movie. It's like this thing. It's just like it's first person view, and this thing is following you on the path where you just went.
Yeah, but it's running fast.
It's running fast as hell, and you're like, oh shit, what is this? And then there's this strange leathery green monster hand
just, like, reaches
out, opens a door and walks in, and then this thing in the shadows is just coming at you, and from the hallway you're like, shit, I'm gonna get hit, and this thing just like starts jumping on you. You gotta fucking hit it because like a couple of hits from that thing, you're out.
Yeah, these things are menacing.
They can slice your head straight off.
Yep.
I mean, if you
have low health, you're fucked. They'll slice your head off. When you hear their creepy little clicking of their walks, that like click, click,
you know,
click,
you know what's going on.
You know what's going on. You're like, oh fuck.
Especially if it's around the corner, or if they're coming from multiple directions at you.
Yeah, and they jump and shit. Like you have to shoot up sometimes because they'll jump at you. It's insane. And their shrieks, not just their death shrieks, but that, oh man, that kind of gives you chills.
Why don't we talk about each area just in a little bit more specificity?
Okay.
So the mansion, obviously, we talked about pretty well. The courtyard is a pretty cool area because it's just like you hear all these night sounds and the frogs and the crickets.
Yeah, and you hear the dogs howling in the background.
Oh, they're all howling and shit. And you go through the courtyard. I loved the guardhouse the first time I got there.
Yeah.
Man, that place is great.
It's kind of like a mini mansion, but not really. More rustic. It's kind of like a
It's like
big
a
old cabin.
giant old
Cabin
creepy
fever.
cabin full of giant spiders who spit venomous acid at you.
Yeah.
You get poisoned, then you gotta use those blue herbs to cure the poison. I really liked the bedrooms in the guardhouse. Actually, there was 3 of them, and they had the same design and layout in the bathrooms. And those bedrooms were kind of nice and cozy, seemingly, you know. You know, you go down and you gotta fight that shark.
Yeah.
Well, you don't fight it.
You can run away from it too.
Yeah,
it's not really a boss, but yeah,
You gotta drain the tank, and then you can kill the shark while it's flopping around in the ground.
Yeah, that basement's got some sick atmosphere.
Then you beat the plant.
Yeah, you fight the plant there.
Yeah, you fight the plant. There's multiple ways of beating the plant. So then we're done with the guardhouse. We
Yeah.
go back to the mansion, gotta kill the snake again, the basement, all that shit. Then you go back out the courtyard. Then you get down into the catacombs, the caverns.
That's my least favorite part, just because it
Caverns.
looks kind of like bland.
Yeah, I mean, it
Like
looks
the
really
colors and
cool and creepy because there's so many enemies in there, and it's
Yeah.
pretty disturbing.
Dodge those boulders, Indiana Jones style.
Dodging the boulders.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was great, dodging the boulders. And you gotta fight the big spider, that's like the boss. That was probably the least favorite part of the
Yeah.
game for me too. I mean, it's a nice departure from the rest of it. But I wouldn't say it's a bad part, I was just saying it's not as impressive as all the other stuff.
Of course.
And then there's the laboratory.
Yep.
You finally get to the laboratory, that's the final part of the
Yeah.
game.
Where all this stuff takes place, all the T-virus development.
This is where the start of the Resident Evil legacy of having the the final part of the game is based in a laboratory.
Yeah. Became a trend.
It just became the Resident Evil thing. Resident Evil 2 ends in a lab. Does Nemesis end in a lab?
I don't remember.
You don't
but
remember?
Probably.
Yeah, obviously Code Veronica, you go to that lab in Antarctica. Resident Evil 4, I was like, they're gonna break the cycle in Resident Evil 4. Nope, it ends in a lab. It just kept going.
Yeah, there's a lot of labs.
And that also brings up like the tradition. This game started the tradition of these beautiful themes in the save rooms. Yeah. And this one was a great one, but I think Resident Evil 2 was the bomb. For me, that was a great one.
So melancholy. And
Code Veronica was beautiful as well, but Resident Evil 2 I think is probably the best one. What about the endings? Let's talk about the endings really quick. I mean, there was multiple endings in the game because there's so many branching story paths that you can take.
Yep, depending on like what items you get or certain ways that you proceed through the game, you
Yeah, there's multiple endings. The best ending is when you save everybody.
Save everybody.
You save the person who's been kidnapped and trapped in a jail cell in the laboratory.
Yeah.
And you also save your partner who's been helping you throughout the game. So Chris saves his partner Rebecca, and then he also rescues Jill from the jail cell. And then Jill, on the other hand, saves Chris from the jail cell and also rescues Barry Burton.
he survives.
And it's always tragic if you don't rescue, if you don't help
You're
out
like,
Barry.
no, they got blown up.
Yeah, and then Barry Burton, when he dies, that's always tragic. So the best ending you want to get is to rescue Barry, rescue Rebecca, rescue Jill and Chris.
Yeah.
Everybody goes home happy. Thank you, Brad, by flying us away in the helicopter. But the worst endings is that when you don't rescue anybody, you just leave because you're an asshole.
You don't even fight Tyrant.
Yeah, you want to be a loner, you want to let all your people die, and then you just fly away in the helicopter by yourself. That's pretty fucking... But Jill looks freaking hot. When she takes off that beret of hers, that freaking hair, the only way you're going to see her hot-ass hair is if you do the loner method and just don't rescue anybody. Yeah, don't rescue anybody with Jill and get to see how hot she is.
That's awesome.
So they remade the first Resident Evil game in 2002 for the Nintendo GameCube with superbly amazing graphics and everything.
Yeah,
like that. They
it was
told me they did
amazing.
it. They changed so much of the game. They gave more story arcs. They gave new environments and things like
new
that.
areas, new items.
So it was like, yeah. And I loved it, but I still ultimately have like a more nostalgic feeling for the original.
Yeah.
Because even though the remake is
a better game.
is technically the better game, the remake, the original has some sort of
So much
some sort of like quality that just it's a very different type of experience. The remake it seems much more how would you say, stereotypical as
Yeah.
far as horror.
Yeah.
I mean, it really looks like a stereotypical horror movie
Yeah.
where
It's like dark and gothic.
super dark and
Yeah.
gothic, and the hallways, everything is creepy, the lighting.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, it looks more like an Italian horror film or something like that, like Dario Argento or something. It's just like bizarre colors and weird perspectives, and you wouldn't necessarily expect it
Yeah.
to look like that, because overall it's just,
Yeah, that's what sticks in your mind.
yeah, because the remake is just, it's dark, 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 dark. It's like, because that's what you do for a horror film, dark, 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 dark. The original Resident Evil has variety. It has dark, 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 but it also has like
Super bright.
super bright areas as well.
Colorful.
And so you feel like you're safe in a super bright area. You're not, motherfucker. You're gonna get killed anyway. I mean, 20 freaking years ago this game came out.
It's crazy.
And early next year, Resident Evil 7 will be released for
Yeah,
PS4,
see how that goes.
Xbox, and whatever. So my favorite game in the series is Resident Evil 4 because it's the greatest. But this one is the most nostalgic, the most iconic. This is just the one that I feel my heart tugging towards the most.
So guys, what are your ratings for the game?
Back in the day, I probably would have given this game a 10 because I was like obsessed with it, drawing it, you know, writing stories and all that stuff. The atmosphere is just like so impressionable to me at that age. I was like 9 years old in 3rd grade, and it doesn't hold up completely because of the controls, but the nostalgia and the style and atmosphere of the game are still just so immersive and awesome, and I love it. So right now, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, and back in the day, I gave it a 9.6. I still remember my rating. And I'm going to stick to that 9.6 to this day, because no game is perfect. I can't give it a 10, but it is just an absolute masterpiece for its era and one of the most influential games of all time, like I mentioned. I think for me, this might be like one of the most influential games of my video game life. This is a seminal, fantastic game that will always forever be remembered. And yeah, love it to this day.
So guys, thanks for joining us on another episode where we look back at the classic survival horror game that started it all.
Until next time,
Stay alert.
Nearly September of 1997, Resident Evil Director's Cut was being released, and I had enough money to buy it. I went to the mall, I went to Sears, and Sears is so fucking weird, man. The video game section was tucked in between the baby clothes and the fucking kids' clothes. So you have like this giant case of games under glass, and then right behind me, a foot behind me, is like some fucking baby t-shirts. And I'm like, this is a bizarrely designed store. But I was like, I don't care. I just want my fucking game.